Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies, where a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all over spooky shit. My name is Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are the sisters.
I was fighting for my life for a moment. I had a burp that was coming up.
Hello.
Hello. We're in Monterey, California.
Oh, we are. You said it weird. I'm like, no, we're absolutely not.
Where do you think we are?
In Monterey.
Oh.
We are. We're here for my birthday.
Mm-hmm. For the record, it is after your birthday because historically, if you do things on your birthday, it goes to hell in a handbasket real quick.
And this year was no different.
I mean, at least I wasn't there for it.
That's true. Yeah, Alex had to get swooped out of town for work, so I was abandoned alone on my birthday. But thankfully, he came back that night, so I didn't have to eat cake by myself.
Yeah, you made your own cake. It looked delicious.
Actually, it's very good. We're still actively eating it, and I very much enjoy it.
I mean, it is a little sad that you made your own birthday cake,
I
but
make a birthday cake.
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that part was normal. Alex texted me on the morning of my birthday. He's like, "Oh, happy birthday!" I'm like, "Thanks." He's like, "How does it feel to be 32?" I'm like, but no,
I'm not 32.
And he goes, "Well, I'm 32." I go, "You're also not 32." I go, "We are both 31," and he was very confused.
That does not surprise me at all. But yeah, so we're here. We're going to go to the aquarium tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hundreds of dollars already, and I haven't even been here for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive trip. That's for sure.
It's for fun. We're staying in a lovely hotel. It's so pretty downstairs.
And it did lock us out.
Well, you locked yourself out.
Alex locked us out.
Pretty sure if you read the signs on the doors.
To be fair, the sign is outside, so you have to exit the door that do not allow entry back in order to see that you do not have entry back in.
Are you talking about those doors right there that have all the warnings, no re-entry permitted and stuff like
No,
that?
I'm talking about a different door.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Is there anything in particular you wanted to discuss first?
Nothing in particular. I have something, but I'll save it for a different episode.
Okay.
No, that's all I got for now.
Okay,
Sorry.
nothing. Okay.
Something else might come to me.
I, as an adult, have now fallen twice in a short amount of time. The first time, what was the first time? Oh, the first time I just tripped over nothing.
Okay.
And then I fell. Oh, technically 3 times, but one I was kind of pushed. The second time,
You were kind of pushed.
Alex was doing something and I was trying to get away and he grabbed my foot and then grabbed my other foot, which then caused me to eat shit and then he felt very bad and I scraped my knee. That was fun.
Okay.
And the third time, which I texted you and Mom about, yeah, I was on the phone with a new client for work. I was walking up the stairs wearing flip-flops and we're doing some construction, so there's cords and everything. My flip-flop got stuck on an extension cord, which then made me trip. So I fell and my phone flew out of my hands and flew across the room. And because we're doing construction, we only have plywood.
Okay.
So it's very echoey. So I made the loudest thud.
And the phone call.
And then the phone call is still going.
Yeah.
I was actively talking when I tripped. And then so I had to scurry to the phone. And then my knee was bleeding.
You have to play it off.
I had to compose myself. And then I just picked up where I left off.
And the person on the other end was none the wiser.
No, I know she knows. She was nice to
You know what? That's how it should be. Be a decent employee.
And then I told my boss, he's like, "Oh, you should have just told her." I'm like, "How would you have said that?" He goes, "Oh,
Sorry,
you
you
say
fell.
pardon me, I tripped."
No, you just bulldozed right past
We just pretend it never happened.
That's exactly right.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That's great. Yeah. So, do you need a life alert?
I know. I'm a little, at least I had my phone, so I could have asked for help.
I feel like I might have Christmas figured out.
I might. I've fallen a lot, and I keep busting up my knee.
Eventually, you're gonna get to the point where you've fallen and you can't get up.
I know. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, that's new with me.
I got a bat box.
I know. We had this whole conversation last episode.
Did we? Shit.
I was wearing a bat on my shirt.
Well, I know I ordered it, but I didn't think I had installed
I said,
it.
what's it look like? And you showed it to me.
I hadn't installed
Okay,
it. So it's
how
up
has
on
it
a
been?
big, we don't have bats yet, but we see lots of them flying around. And so Evan sprays this like bat attractant that smells like cat piss.
Oh,
But yeah, so
that's fun.
yeah.
Are you going to name them if you get a bat?
Totes. But I'm scared to touch it because I don't want to get rabies. But
The bat or the box?
the bat.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't touch wild bat.
No, it's a device again.
Oh, okay. So today, unless there's something else.
No,
Okay.
it's all banked.
Today is a monumental day, just in the topic that I'm covering. So we are going to cover the moon landing finally.
We're gonna start covering
We're going to
it.
start. I have never once taken this long to finish my notes in the couple years that we've had this podcast. I started it before I came to visit, and I just finished last night.
Why is it so hard to compile the notes?
One, it's very extensive.
Okay.
It's a big topic. I wanted to make sure I hit every point
Oh.
while like still condensing it for the most part. I have 30 pages of notes.
Oh.
But also I just didn't want to do it. It's a really cool topic and stuff, but when I actually put pen to paper, I just could not get any motivation, and I wanted to do anything else other than these notes.
Have you started using AI?
I did for this, but only because I had like 45 tabs open.
Trying to put all of the pieces together.
And like I know I read something or I know I'm forgetting something, so I did use Chat GPT a good amount of time.
I do that to help me organize my notes and timeline stuff because conceptually you may understand what's happening, but trying to communicate that, it's been
Exactly. Yeah. So I
it's a
did
game
use it. I
changer.
meant to tell you that. It was very helpful. And sorry if we sound weird. I forgot something. So technically we don't have our microphone
We're in a hotel.
because we're in a hotel. So yeah, so we are going to go over the moon landing. Right off the bat, before we start, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's fake? Do you think it happened?
We went to the moon in 1969. There was a whole song about it on Even Stevens. So I believe
There is, yeah.
we went to the moon in 1969.
So you believe that we went to the moon?
The way that you said that makes me feel like I shouldn't.
No, well, you don't know any.
I do feel like we went to the moon.
Could use a tornado. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, maybe you'll change your mind at the end of this. Maybe you won't. That's okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, so let's get into it. So first, let's talk about NASA.
Sorry, I took a
I know that drink is fucking disgusting.
It's Betty Boo's sparkling bourbon and smoked lemonade. I would not recommend.
It tastes, as Alex said, it tastes like expired
Expired
cheesecake, which is actually pretty accurate.
It's got the tang, but also like yeah. Anywho, continue.
Yeah, like it. Okay, NASA.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1914, the U.S. realized that we were falling behind Europe when it came to like aviation capability. So the U.S. can't be falling behind, obviously.
no,
That would be number one.
Number one.
So Congress created the aviation section of the U.S. Army in 1915, and it was called NACA.
1915?
Yes.
15. Okay, NACA.
NACA, which stands for National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal was NACA to do a shit ton of aeronautical research for the Army, Air Force, Navy, and even civilians.
Okay.
And they actually did research for 40 years. 40.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a big project. After World War II, NACA focused on the possibilities of guided missiles and supersonic aircraft. And then it kind of ended just naturally gearing towards space shit.
Okay.
And then a whole bunch of other stuff. In the late 1950s, the U.S. was involved with which war?
Oh, the Cold War.
Yes, I did not think you know that. Correct. War.
God.
So it was the U.S. versus the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Which is Russia, because for those that didn't know, because I didn't know.
The Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, even though Vladdy the Daddy does want it.
I've not heard that.
No?
On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1,
Sputnik, yeah.
which was the first artificial satellite.
Okay.
So the launch was a success, and the U.S. is like, oh shit, they're beating us. We got to get fucking something up there.
The space race.
Yes. So this created a sense of panic, not only within the military and the government, but also with just the general public.
Or, yeah, the people.
Exactly. So the U.S. decided that they needed to get their asses in gear, and they needed to get this space shit figured out fast.
Okay.
And as you just mentioned, this period of time is known as the space race.
Mm-hmm.
So the Eisenhower administration decided to split up civil spaceflight program and the U.S. military's program. So on Trigger's birthday, July 29th, 1958, President Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act of 1958 into law, thus creating NASA.
Got it.
NASA was hard at work on their first order of business, which was titled Project Mercury, because, you know, the U.S. loves a good project.
Yes.
Project Mercury's entire goal was to put a man into Earth's orbit and then return him safely, preferably before the Soviet Union. The U.S. got their foot in the door on February 1st, 1958, when we successfully launched Explorer 1, which was just our own satellite that we shot up into space.
Okay.
So from here on out, it's a tit for tat between us and the Soviet Union. On April 12th, 1961, Soviet Union launched the first ever human orbital space flight with a man named Yuri Gagarin. And then orbital space flight just means that the spacecraft does a single orbit around Earth.
Okay.
And then they come back.
Got it.
So on May 5th, 1961, 23 days later, the U.S. launched our very first suborbital flight with a man named Alan Shepard. And a suborbital flight is a space flight in which the spacecraft reaches outer space, but the trajectory intersects the surface of the gravitating body for which it was launched.
Totally get that.
So it doesn't actually complete one orbital revolution, and it doesn't become an artificial satellite or anything like that.
Okay.
So on August 6, 1961, Soviet named German Titov. I don't think any of that's right. German Titov.
Okay.
Did a day-long orbital flight. So now the Soviet Union is up one. On February 20th, 1962, the U.S. sent a man named John Glenn, and he successfully made 3 orbits around instead of just one. So now the U.S. is up.
They're up in the ante.
They are. So if you're keeping score, by the way, Project Mercury, I forgot what's going with this, ended on May of 1963. So both the U.S. and the Soviet Union had sent 6 humans into space by the time this project
collectively between the two of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Soviets were technically in the lead because they had more overall time in space.
Got it.
Another project had to be created now that Project Mercury is done. It goes to the next one. Do you have any guess what that project name was?
Hail Mary. No.
No, everybody. It was Project Gemini.
Oh. Aren't you a Gemini?
I am,
Oh.
unfortunately.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does. So Project Gemini's purpose was to continue developing space travel and finally land a man on the moon.
Okay, that was the one.
That was the one. So after some hard work, Apollo 1 was ready to go and was scheduled for the official launch on February 21st, 1967.
Oh, we're still a few years away?
We are.
Okay.
So the 3 astronauts were going to be Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Schaeff.
I think I've heard of any of those.
About 1 month earlier, this is before Apollo 1 was set to launch. On January 27th, 3 astronauts were doing a launch simulation because basically they need to test everything out, make sure in practice it's going to work, so that way when they actually launch it, it will work.
Yes, the rough draft.
Very good. So passing this test was essential in order to make their February 21st launch deadline. It was considered non-hazardous because neither the launch vehicle nor the spacecraft was loaded with fuel, and all the explosive bolts were disabled. I don't know what that is, but it sounds very dangerous.
It does.
So all 3 men during this launch test, they entered into the spacecraft at 1 p.m. in their full suits. They got buckled into their little seats. Everything was going as planned. And then at about 1:20 p.m., Gus Grissom's like, "Do you guys smell that?"
Uh-oh.
They're like, "I don't know. What are you smelling?" And he said, "It smells like sour buttermilk."
And they're like, how this tastes?
And they're like, "We don't smell that, but we should probably investigate."
Oh, so it wasn't like having a stroke?
No, not necessarily. Technically, they didn't find anything.
Oh.
So they took some air samples just to test it, and it came back that everything was fine. There was no toxic fumes or anything like that. So they ended up continuing to launch at 2:42. They were doing some more tests and checks, but another stop happened at 5:40 p.m. because the crew wasn't able to clearly communicate back to base using the microphones that they were provided.
Okay, communication.
Obviously, you need communication.
Yeah.
They had to pause. So they finally got everything squared away at 6:31 p.m. But then, because those microphones are now working, the people at like Houston, whatever it's called, headquarters or whatever, they heard either "Hey fire" or "Hey flame." And then another astronaut quickly followed that up with, quote, "We've got a fire in the cockpit." End quote.
Oh, no.
So I guess the transmission was really hard to understand, even though technically they got the microphones working. It wasn't great. And also you got a little bit of panic. But one of the astronauts said either, quote, "We've got a bad fire. Let's get out. We're burning up."
Okay.
Or, quote, "They're fighting a bad fire. Let's get out. Open her up."
Oh.
But either way, there's a fire. We need to get the fuck out of here kind of thing.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. This is still the test, right?
This is the test.
Okay.
They haven't even...
So they're not in space
No,
right now.
they're on land.
Okay.
So that last transmission lasted 5 seconds and it ended with a cry of pain.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, the launch had not been publicly broadcasted
Oh.
because all 3 astronauts lost their lives.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they all died. It was like a super big fucking deal.
Oh, no.
So Project Gemini was now put on hold for the next 20 months while investigations and different safety checks were going on.
Got it.
Now, let's talk about trips to the moon.
Okay.
So on July 13th, 1969, the Soviets launched Luna 15, which was a robotic space mission, so no actual humans were on board.
Got it. Okay.
Its goal was to bring lunar soil back to Earth, so moon dust, because with that, they could win the space race.
They have their proof that
They went to the moon. Technically, the goal for everyone would be to send a person to the moon and back.
Set foot on moon.
Exactly, but honestly, just reaching the moon, gathering some evidence and bringing it back, that would be considered a win.
Sure, yeah.
Unfortunately for them, during the descent, because she was able to get that fucking moon dust, a malfunction caused Luna 15 to crash into the moon.
Oh.
So it was basically on the way back, it crashed into the moon, and that it's forfeited, basically.
That's a bummer. Yeah, that doesn't really count if you don't come back with it.
And while all this is happening, 3 days earlier, so while it's probably still going up there, on July 16th, 1969, at approximately 1:32 p.m., Apollo 11 was launched by a Saturn V rocket from the Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island in Florida.
When did Apollo 11 happen compared to Apollo 1? What was the time difference?
Apollo 11 is 1969.
So it's within that like 20-month period or whatever?
It should be after.
Oh,
and then Apollo 1 was on 1967.
Okay, so about 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
Aboard the ship of Apollo 11 were 3 astronauts. Do you know who these astronauts are?
Was that the one with Buzz Aldrin?
Yes.
I don't remember anyone else.
So,
Neil Armstrong?
Yes. No one knows the third one. Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry, whoever you are. Who is it?
So it's Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, who I've still never heard of.
Isn't Michael Collins also the name of the dad that was on Seventh Heaven that was a
pedophile?
Pedo, yeah.
I don't know his name.
Okay, well, sorry, Michael Collins. Now I have to look this up real quick.
Looking that up. And the third one was Edwin Aldrin Jr., or better known as Buzz Aldrin. While these 3 men were preparing for a trip of a lifetime, as I mentioned, Luna 15 was on its way back to Earth. And 2 hours before the launch of Apollo 11, that's when Luna 15 crashed.
Oh, so my gosh.
Within hours of one another winning the space race. So it
was not. Sorry, Michael. You got no thunder. It's all stolen.
On July 16th, 1969, at approximately 1:32 p.m., roughly 1 million viewers tuned in to watch this launch.
Okay.
And the launch, thankfully, was a success. And on July 20th, 1952, the Eagle, which is the name of the spacecraft, began the final preparations for lunar descent, which means it was getting ready to land on the moon. And at 8:17 p.m., after some technical difficulties, the Eagle landed on the motherfucking moon. Woo! So a few hours later, at 2:39 a.m., the hatch was opened. And at 2:56 a.m., Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon's surface and said the now infamous,
"One step for..."
Yeah, I know. That was really good.
Their step and leaps are one
small step for man,
one giant leap for
mankind.
Okay.
Very good.
Wow. Those last 2 brain cells I have today were really working overtime.
Okay, so now let's talk about the Apollo 11 conspiracies.
Okay.
Yeah, the moon landing technically is the Apollo 11 mission.
Okay.
Apollo 11 was a big fucking deal, not just historically with the U.S. beating the Soviet and us winning the space race, but because also many people believed then and still to this day that it actually never happened. It was an elaborate hoax.
Of course.
In 1970, roughly 30% of Americans believed that it was fake. And currently, anywhere from 6 to 20% of Americans believe it's fake.
It's not a small number.
It's pretty big. And it was much bigger right after it happened.
Right. They didn't even have the internet back then.
Exactly. So why do so many people refuse to believe that we sent humans to space, then had them walk on the moon, if there was a literal video proof of this?
Right.
So let's start with that video proof. So for those of us who weren't actually around in 1969, none of I, here's a list of some technology that had been just invented and or discovered in this year.
Okay.
The laser printer was invented.
Oh, okay.
The mouse pad was invented, the piece of thing that the mouse goes on top of.
Like the little foamy thing, okay.
A glue stick. was invented. A stick of glue.
In the late 60s?
That's 1969.
Jesus Christ.
I assume we had glue bottles, but this is glue stick.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as there's been horses, we've had glue.
Oh,
but
sad. Color TV finally started replacing most black and white TVs in homes.
that
So
I know.
both had been around.
My boss told me the story about the day he got a color TV and how
Wow.
excited.
I'm sure that was a monumental day. Was. The first U.S. ATM was installed and used.
Oh.
2 years earlier, floppy disks were invented. And then 3 years later, in 1972, compact discs or CDs were invented.
I don't think I realized that CDs existed that long because I didn't start listening to the mainstream until like the 90s.
Yeah, I thought it was much later, but I guess not. Now that you have a general idea of what type of technology was out there,
limited.
very minimal.
The glue sticks really weigh, you know.
So I thought the mouth.
Yeah, that's the deal, literally and figuratively.
So because of that, you may be wondering how the fuck NASA was able to basically live stream the launch, have a camera that was able to follow them throughout the trip, how a camera was either placed or suspended on the moon to therefore
catch
the astronauts stepping out of the spacecraft and walking down onto the moon. And then how it was able to relay a near perfect fucking image back to us viewers at home.
Okay, that is
right. It's starting to sound a little difficult.
I didn't realize that it was like a live event or like a live viewership event. So
NASA was like, easy, we got an answer for you.
Yeah.
It wasn't a live stream as we know it today.
Oh, okay.
We used slow scan television or SSTV.
Mm-hmm.
What that is, it sends pictures over radio waves.
Okay.
It's mostly used by amateur ham radio operators.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with a photograph that you want to send.
Mm-hmm.
The SSTV turns that picture into a series of tones and beeps. Each color and line of the photograph is then turned into a different sound frequency. That sound is then broadcasted over the radio frequency, just like using a walkie-talkie. And then someone back on Earth has an SSTV receiver. They hear these tones, and therefore they put it back in the picture.
That blows my mind.
I'm like, I don't know what that means.
That is some like voodoo bullshit right there. But like to me, that's mind blowing technology.
Exactly. But I guess that's what's pretty normal. So
like when you said that, I was thinking of Mike TV from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Where he's like particles that gets like...
basically as long as they're sounds, then yeah.
Well, it goes and then he's rebuilt.
That actually might be it. I think that's it. So that's how Willy Wonka did it.
There you go.
And then SSTV sends one image line by line, and it can take up to 30 seconds to over a minute in order to get one picture back.
I mean, when you think about how long it took to download pictures when the internet first came out, that's really fast.
Exactly. They also use something called a unified S-band or a USB. And what that is, it's a type of radio communication system.
Okay.
So the USB was just able to simplify life. It took talking to astronauts, sending data, tracking location, and sending TV images, and it put it all into one central unit.
Okay.
So that combined with the SSTV was how NASA explained that they were able to, broadcast the trip and the moon landing in general.
Sure.
So here are some rapid fire reasons why people don't believe we actually ever went to the moon.
Yeah.
There were no stars visible.
Okay.
People are like, I'm in California, I can see a whole night sky, but you're in fucking space and you don't see shit.
Well, I mean, space is a super dark vacuum and stars are like bajillions of light years away. So
wouldn't you technically be closer to them if you're in space than you were if you're in California?
We can still be closer to them, but also still be like so far away.
Okay.
Space is a vacuum. Light doesn't travel.
Okay, bitch. Most pictures taken from Mars and the moon in general, they have weird or multiple shadows, making people believe that there was other light sources that weren't the sun. Because technically, shadows are only going to go parallel, but they had a lot of perpendicular shadows, which would be created if you had a secondary light source.
Well, is it possible that light was hitting the spaceship and reflecting?
No. No, it was not. But I like how you're trying to
work my way
through
through
the other side of this. The American flag was blowing in the wind. That's a big one because there is no, as you just mentioned, space is a vacuum. There is no wind. There's no atmosphere. So how can a flag be blowing in the wind if there's no wind?
Well, it's like we have an atmosphere on Earth. So the moon might have
It doesn't. I don't know where we're going with that one.
I don't know. I'm stretching here.
When the lunar module took off, which was recorded / broadcasted, however you want to word it, there was no blast crater created. So it's like it took off, but nothing underneath happened. No, there was like a piece of dust.
There was no evidence that something super heated and had
a ginormous engine basically that's shooting out fire. Don't you think the ground would reflect that?
Yeah, it would be very hot if nothing else.
But it didn't.
No.
Also, I guess many of the pictures that have been circulated, the background is just being repeated. So they're like, I can clearly identify this rock as this, yet here's another picture of somewhere else on the moon where it has the same exact rock. Like everything seemed very fake. So people either thought that NASA was only using one specific location, but trying to make it look like they were going multiple places, or they had a backdrop.
Oh, okay.
To get to the moon, astronauts needed to travel through something called the Van Allen radiation belts. But due to their high volumes of radiation, many people think there's no way the astronauts would physically be able to pass through it without being cooked alive.
Oh, I don't know anything about radiation, so.
Me neither. And then remember that lovely little science lesson I just gave you a second ago about the SSTV and the USB?
Yes.
That's pretty fucking cool that they did it then. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's the first of its kind, that being the recording of the moon landing. So don't you think they would maybe cherish this? They would keep it close to them. They would want to make sure this piece of history is kept safe.
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you that the tapes went missing and no one bothered to notice for 36 years?
I'm sorry, what?
And when they finally bothered to look into it, it was revealed that NASA taped over the moon landing
like someone taped over your birthday party.
90%. Like your dad in his wedding video was like, the Cubs game is on. I gotta fucking record over this shit.
Oh.
They recorded over the monumental once-in-a-lifetime moon landing in order to save some storage because tapes were hard to get, I guess. And they ended up recording the Landsat program, which is just a bunch of fucking satellites.
So it's like there wasn't even a copy. And like, yeah, why didn't they not immediately archive that?
They say that there are remakes basically of it out there. Like they were able to replicate what happened, but technically the original is absolutely gone because they taped over it after losing it for 36 years.
Wow.
So lastly, in my personal opinion, the most damning evidence of all that would lead one to believe that the moon landing is faked would be the multiple public interviews that Buzz Aldrin has given, saying flat out that we did not go to the fucking moon.
No, he didn't. Really?
I did.
Wasn't he on Dancing with the Stars, too?
I don't think that sounds accurate. Hold on. Okay. He's elderly.
Yeah, he is, but just give me a second. Yeah, he was.
What year? 52?
No. Okay, hello. What year was this? Season 10 of Dancing with the Stars, 2014.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
I don't know why I knew that. I'd never watched it.
Okay, so here's some times that he admitted this.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear this.
Oh, and by the way, I will put these little snippets into the actual video on both YouTube and on Patreon.
Perfect.
So Buzz was doing a Q&A at the Oxford Union in 2015.
Okay.
And the Q&A was being recorded. It's on YouTube. Like I said, I'll link it. But at 30 minutes and 17 seconds, a girl in the audience was given the microphone, and she asked Buzz, what was the scariest moment of the journey? To which Buzz replied, scariest? It didn't happen. It could have been scary. Then there was a long fucking pause.
Yeah.
And then he mumbled something where he either said, like, circuit break or let's take a break. And then someone off screen behind says circuit break. They're trying to prompt him to say something. And then he's just like staring. And then the woman who's interviewing him goes, tell him about the circuit break story. And then he's like, oh, okay. So then he starts rambling about rock boxes, like a box of moon rocks.
I mean, I like rock. That's
a lot wrong.
Talk about rock.
That he like totally forgets the point again and the question again. And then he starts talking about a circuit breaker that like broke, and it was scary. But like it was the weirdest, like everyone in the audience got super quiet. It was super strange.
That is weird.
And then like the hands were off site, like trying to like speed it up. It looked really fucking suspicious.
Oh no.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary. Circuit breaker. glad somebody helps me. We came back inside after kicking up dust and picking up some rocks.
On May 17th, 2000, Bud did an interview with Conan O'Brien. And at 1 minute 30 seconds, Conan starts to talk about he and anyone who was alive at the time vividly remembers watching the moon landing. And he's quickly telling his own personal story where he said, quote, I remember my parents waking me up and we went downstairs and we watched you guys land on the moon. And it was, and Buzz cuts in and he says, no, you didn't.
Oh my God.
And Conan said, why not? And Buzz says, quote, because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anyone taking a picture. You watched animation. You associate what you saw with, and then Conan jumps in and he's like, oh yeah, everyone's memory's fuzzy. And then they like change the subject.
About this, because this is fascinating. I remember very clearly, I think anybody who was alive at the time does. I remember my parents waking me up and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No,
which
you didn't.
was
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. See, you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
In 2010, Neil Armstrong was confronted by a man named Bart Sibrel, claiming to be from the ABC Digital. Bart was basically harassing Neil Armstrong, and at some point, he like shoved a book in his face, and he said, why don't you just put an end to the record and the argument and put your hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon? And then Neil responded with, quote, Mr. Sibrel, knowing you, it's probably a fake Bible. And then just like fucking left.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't want to entertain that shit either. Leave me alone.
To just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Sibrel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Apparently, in 2002, so a few years prior to this incident, Buzz Aldrin actually punched that dude in the face because he's just a known piece of shit. He harasses everyone because he's a big conspiracy theorist and he wants to beat it out of them. So he just goes around harassing them. So that was like a poised answer that Neil could have given.
Sure, okay.
But people are like, he wouldn't swear on the Bible. Obviously, we didn't go to the
I
moon.
wouldn't either. I'd burst into flames. I'm scared.
In September of 2015, Buzz was doing this pretty cute interview with this little girl named Zoe at the National Book Festival in Washington. And at 7 minutes, 9 seconds, Zoe asked Buzz, quote, why has no one been to the moon in such a long time? End quote. Buzz chuckles and he comments, he's like, that's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. And then there's kind of a pause and he continues with, quote, because we didn't go and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we know how and why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep going, end quote. Yeah, if you're confused, that also made no fucking sense. Like, he just, like, was rambling, and then it was just kind of awkward, and, like, her dad is behind the camera, and he's like, okay, next question.
Right?
Like, how? Let's move this along.
How uncomfortable.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
And then lastly, there was a speech that Trump was giving. I don't know. I assume he was president. I don't know. I assume it was probably his first presidency.
What year was that?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I'll put the video. I'm sure it's in the description. I didn't think to look. Buzz and a whole bunch of people are like standing next to him on camera. And while Trump is talking, he mentions like going to space and the space journey a couple of times. And Buzz is making the weirdest fucking faces. He's like raising his eyebrows and like looking like, be so fucking for real right now. Like, it was really weird. And the camera is, it's like you and I. I'm Trump and you are him. And like, you can clearly see, and he just cannot stop his fucking faces. Some people are like, it's crawling out of him.
Oh my God.
Trying to say something.
This is actually very interesting.
It is.
I used to say before doing what I did, I used to say, what happened? Why aren't we moving forward? Today's announcement sends a clear signal to the world that we are restoring America's proud legacy of leadership in space. At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space? The privatization of certain aspects is going to play a very crucial role, don't you think? They are truly into it. Our journey into space will not only make us stronger and more prosperous, but will unite us behind grand ambitions and bring us all closer together. Wouldn't that be nice? Can you believe that space is going to do that? I thought politics would do that. Well, we'll have to rely on space instead.
So I did see a compilation video of all of these videos on Instagram from someone named Flat Earth Bulgaria.
Oh, well, that tells me a lot.
I know, but they do deserve some credit because I basically got this idea from their video. So now, because this is not only a one-sided podcast, I will try to give some rebuttals to these interviews.
That's fair.
Fair. So on the Conan interview, many people think he was trying. I don't know if he's senile or what.
I mean, he was pretty old at this point. He's even older now.
Exactly.
He's still alive.
But people think he was trying to talk about the delay because the SSTV, it takes a picture, then it takes sound waves, and then it turns it back into picture. So they think he was trying to say no one actually witnessed us walking on the moon because there was a delay. So like, let's say the camera is taking all these pictures. By the time it gets broken down, sent back, and then rebuilt,
we've already moved on. Yeah.
By the time we as the U.S. at home saw him land on the moon, him and Neil, they had already gotten back into the ship.
Oh.
Like there was that much of a delay. So that's what people think he was trying to say. Like, you didn't watch us because technically no one watched us live.
Okay. I mean, I guess. I guess. See that.
His nonsensical answer with this poor 8-year-old girl named Zoe. It was a good question. Why haven't we ever gone back if it was such a big deal? They think because he has his big science brain, he's trying to figure out a way to describe his answer and dumb it down to an 8-year-old would understand. But he kind of lost the sauce.
Yeah.
So he kind of like, in trying to dumb down his answer, he completely forgot what he was saying and just kept talking, thinking it would kind of catch him.
It would find him.
But it eventually didn't. So I don't know if he has kids. Doesn't seem like someone, he seems very comfortable with her, but he doesn't seem like someone who actively talks to children.
Okay.
So I think that's, people try to give him a pass on that.
Oh, okay.
For the Trump speech, I don't know his political affiliations or anything, but to me, it didn't look like he was disputing what he was saying.
Okay.
It looked like he was maybe not a Trump supporter, or he didn't want to be there. Because he's doing the faces through the entire speech. It's not only when, obviously the video I watched only focuses on when he mentioned speech, but he's like a 4-year-old that's just like stuck and like can't stop moving. He just cannot stop making faces, and he looks rather uncomfortable. Not that he's calling bullshit, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And then lastly, for the interview, where the chick asked, what was the scariest part?
Yeah.
I have no rebuttal. That was fucking weird. And it 100% looked like he was trying to tell the truth, and then a handler swooped in and was like, that's not the narrative we're going to go with today, and try to keep it going. So if people truly believe that the moon landing was fake, how do they explain the broadcasting footage, pictures, etc.?
Okay, yeah.
And the biggest theory is that it was filmed by Stanley Kubrick.
Really? Well, he did 2001: A Space Odyssey.
There you go. So Stanley Kubrick, I was going to say, do you know who that is?
I do.
He's a director, for those that don't. And he did some pretty fucking big movies.
Mm-hmm.
2001: The Space Odyssey. What else has he done that you know of?
Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes. I have 2 more.
They'll come to me. My brain is tired.
The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
And Full Metal Jacket.
Yes. Oh, great movie.
So have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I have.
Okay. I have not. But can you quickly tell us what it's about, if you remember?
A dude in space, and he's got HAL 9000, I think. It's like the system that's in the space system. I haven't seen it in a very long time. But HAL is essentially, like this robotic thing that helps, and it like turns against him, and I don't remember the rest of it.
Okay, so the overview that was given on IMDb just says, when a mysterious artifact is uncovered on the moon, a spacecraft manned by 2 humans and 1 supercomputer is sent to Jupiter to find its origins.
I don't remember anything about the moon, and I only remember one person on it, but yes.
So this entire rumor about Stanley Kubrick started because of a book that was written in 1974 by a man named Bill Kaysing, titled We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion Swindle.
Ooh.
The book was self-published in 1976. And Casing worked as the head of the technical presentations for the Rocketdyne Propulsion Field Laboratory, the one in Simi. Rocketdyne. Oh my God. God, what are the odds? And it's fucking in Simi.
That's so funny. Rocketdyne's the reason why, like,
people have fucking
cancer. Yeah. And the giant bugs.
Yeah, you got the fucking hill people in Simi.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Like, so during this time, Casing held security clearances with both the U.S. Air Force and the Atomic Energy Commission.
Okay.
While working at Rocketdyne, he allegedly had access to documents about Project Mercury, Project Gemini, and Apollo 11. So he's just kind of like skimming through all these documents that he probably shouldn't be looking at. And when he read them, he remembered thinking, how dumb do they think we are? Like, there's no fucking way this is legit. They're about to try to do a cover-up.
Oh, okay.
And so him and the other scientists that were at Rocketdyne were talking about it, and they were like, we don't have enough technology to safely have a return trip. They're like, maybe if every star aligned, we could get them up to the moon, but there's no way they would survive the trip back with today's technology.
Okay. They're not advanced enough. Got
No. And then also they were concerned about the radiation from the Van Allen belt.
Okay, yeah.
So because of this, Casing decided to write a book exposing NASA and the U.S. In his book, he listed every single point that I went over as to why people think the moon landing is fake, that being the no stars, the waving flag, all that shit. He also went on to accuse NASA of both the Apollo 1 fire and the Challenger explosion.
Oh my God.
And the reason he gave was obviously because the astronauts were in on the hoax, but some of them may have been wanting to talk. And this was a way of silencing them and scaring other astronauts to be like, you're going to go along with this or you're going to accidentally get blown up.
The color of your eyes will be blue forever.
What's that?
What is it? Like, what color is Sally Rag's eyes? Blue, because she blew up.
You never heard that? No.
I'm not a monster.
I'm pretty sure Dad told me. Oh my goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to Stanley Kubrick. So theorists speculated that Stanley Kubrick read this book and was like, shit, that makes a lot of good fucking sense. I also don't think we went to the moon. But because he is such a wonderfully talented man, or was, I think he's dead now. He is dead now.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to expose this, but I'm going to do it in the way I know how.
Via film.
Via film.
Oh.
And he created 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes. Okay.
So people are like, oh, he made it with the intentions of us, the viewers, being like, that looks awfully familiar. Or this reminds me of something I've seen before.
Like putting it all right there for you to figure it out yourself.
So in 2007, there was a video going around claiming to show Kubrick behind the scenes during the moon landing. So they were on the surface of the moon. You can see him with his fucking camera. It's like cut shots, obviously. There's like actors smoking and stuff on the side. They're in full jumpsuits. And they're like, oh shit, this is proof. A user named Jack Straw posted this video on Twitter, and he wrote, quote, boom, archive footage of Stanley Kubrick that has requested to be published after his death, and a cover letter in which he says, among other things, quote, with the cooperation of the U.S. government and NASA, we faked the moon landings. All moon landings are faked, and I filmed them all, end quote. The video that's going around was behind-the-scene footage of the 2018 movie called First Man with Ryan Gosling.
Oh.
And it was directed by Damien Chazelle.
Okay.
So whoever posted the video purposefully made it super grainy and like look old timey when it's 100% from 2018.
You can't trust anything you see on the internet ever. And with AI, forget it.
I know. So in addition to creating a space odyssey, they also believe that Stanley was trying to put in some Easter eggs in case the blatant movie wasn't enough. He needed to slip some other things into there. The Shining is a big one.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, do you think of anything in The Shining? I don't know when the last time you watched it was. Anything that would like relate back to NASA or the moon landing?
Not off the top of my head.
That's okay.
No.
You kind of would need to like watch it a lot. So Danny, the young boy in the movie, he's wearing a knitted jumper with the Apollo 11 rocket on the front.
11.
Apollo 11 rocket on the front.
Oh, I would not have caught that. Okay.
In the scene where Danny first encounters room 237, he's playing on the carpet. The camera kind of zooms out and it shows the pattern of the carpet. And the pattern of the carpet is said to resemble the aerial photograph of the launch pad of Apollo 11.
even if I had watched the movie an hour ago, I don't think I would
I
have.
have pictures to show you. And lastly, room 237. A seemingly random number.
Okay.
Where is it?
Ooh, tell me
Because
more.
if you had to guess, how many miles do you think it is from Earth to the moon?
237 million or light years away.
237,000 miles.
Oh, okay.
So these are the pictures. This is the carpet. This is the aerial site. And then this is his sweatshirt that he's wearing.
Oh,
So there's no actual,
I feel like that's a stretch, but okay.
not proof that,
Sure.
you know, this was there. Stanley Kubrick, when he was alive, never.
Kubrick. Sorry.
Am I saying no here?
I always say Kubrick, but I love Kubrick.
Stanley K. never specifically said anything. He never confirmed nor denies the allegations that he was involved in the moon landing.
Okay.
His daughter actually publicly addressed these concerns on Twitter, and she called it a, quote, grotesque lie, end quote.
Mm-mm.
And then the last part of this is for those who believed that the Mars landing was fake.
We had a Mars landing? Oh, like
Not
the rover?
The rover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. I did the same fucking thing.
I'm like, Elon didn't make it yet.
No. So they were like, I don't think we went to the moon. I don't think we went to Mars. And Stanley Kubrick didn't have anything to do with it. So where did Mars come from?
Yeah.
If it's fake. So many people think it was done on a place called Devon Island, which is in Canada.
Oh.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. Do you live in the Bay Area? Are you in need of a CPR class for work or just to gain knowledge? Well, look no further because CPR Education has you covered. They host public classes every Saturday in Pleasant Hill, ranging from CPR and first aid, BLS for healthcare providers, Infant Essentials for new and expecting parents, and EMSA-approved courses for licensed childcare providers. Whatever need you have, CPR Education has a solution. Go to cpredu.com and use code CRACKED for 20% off any public class. That's CRACKED, and you'll get 20% off any class of your choosing. CPR Education, keeping people together.
So Devon Island is the largest uninhabited island in the world and has an area of 55,247 square kilometers. So it's a big fucking island.
I don't know kilometers to miles. Not that it matters.
The Devon Island Research Station was set up in 1960, and in 2004, it was the temporary home of 5 scientists and 2 journalists who were used the Mars-like environment to simulate living and working on a different planet.
Okay.
Also, in the summer, it is home to NASA's complementary scientific program called the Houghton Mars Project, or HMP. The goal of this research project is to figure out how humans would survive on another planet should we ever go to Mars or anything like that.
Yeah.
This guy on TikTok had heard about Devon Island and looked it up. And he's like, I'm going to Google Earth it. So he looks it up on Google Earth and he zooms in and the terrain looks identical to Mars.
Really?
And then he's scrolling around and he's like, that looks like the station where everyone meets on Mars. And that looks like the rover. And he's like, this is fucking weird that I can find all of this.
Sure.
So he basically posted it and he's like, obviously this is proof. We never fucking went to Mars. We never sent shit to Mars. This is Mars. But what he discovered wasn't a secret. So basically, the core module of the HMP base camp and the HMP X1 station have been built and set up on this location because if we're going to inhabit another planet, you have to have these things. So they're trying to make it as realistic as possible.
To replicate that environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have a whole bunch of tents that connect into Starlight configuration, all this shit. So it does look suspicious if you don't know that it's a publicly known thing that they have that there
for a reason. Okay.
Exactly. And then so these are the 2 pictures. So this is Mars and this is Devon Island.
I mean, they do that and that look almost identical.
It literally just looks like someone took a picture of Devon Island, put
a filter on it,
a sepia filter over it, and called it a fucking day.
Yeah.
This is also pictures of researchers pretending like they're in Mars, and then this is the Starlight configuration of all of their base camps.
Interesting.
So after everything I've just told you, are you convinced? Have you come to the other side that the moon landing was faked?
No, but I'm questioning what I thought I know.
Okay. Well, you can continue to question because we will come back for part 2.
Good
Well,
golly.
maybe I will convince you.
Okay, we'll see what you can really bring it home with. I mean, you have planted and sown seeds of doubt.
Okay.
So I mean, I have learned doing this podcast that we don't trust the government or anything related to it. So I mean, that right there could be alluding to maybe there's something else going on. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what part 2 has in store. Cool. All right. But in the meantime, we're always looking for new topics, maybe topics that like don't span multiple days to record because it is a lot of work. But you can reach us on our various social media platforms. We have pretty much all of them. You can send us an old-fashioned email. You can go to our Patreon, our YouTube, what have you. But with that, I'm going to say stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.